දහසක කඳුළු පිසලන විශ්වාසවන්ත තනි වචන ගම්බැද්ද රට නගන ජන පවුර
A very good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime News here on TV1. For the News First team, I'm Naveksha Gunasekara. Let's start off with a look at your headlines.
Sri Lanka's foreign reserves have reached approximately $3.1 billion, says CBSL Governor Ajit Nibot Cabral. CPC subsidiary for the development of the Trincomalee oil tank farm established, says Energy Minister Udaya Gammanpilla. Bus fares to be increased effective this evening. Long queues to purchase gas. Universities open for academic activities. Asian Development Bank to reimburse $85 million spent on Sinopharm vaccines.
In your top story this afternoon, the central bank said the official foreign currency reserves position has now reached around $3.1 billion and is expected to remain at such level by the end of 2021 as well.
Issuing a statement, the central bank said, as articulated in the 6-month roadmap for ensuring macroeconomic and financial system stability, foreign currency inflows in connection with several other facilities that are under negotiation at present are expected to be realized in early January 2022. The statement also noted that the government and the central bank are confident that the reserve position will remain at comfortable levels throughout the year 2022.
Meanwhile, Reuters reported that Sri Lanka has raised its official foreign exchange reserves to around $3.1 billion, helped by a currency swap agreement with China. Quoting sources, Reuters said it had been topped up after a $1.5 billion currency swap with the People's Bank of China was finalized today. According to Reuters, one of the sources said the swap was denominated in yuan but could be converted into dollars if needed.
Ministry of Energy Udaya Gammanpilla says Trinco Petroleum Terminal Limited, a subsidiary company of the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, has been established to control the government's share of the oil tanks currently leased to the Indian Oil Corporation or IOC.
He also noted that discussions are underway to obtain a portion of the tanks for the government. The minister said the discussions are underway to retrieve the majority of the 99 storage tanks in Trincomalee leased to the IOC back to Sri Lanka. According to the Energy Minister, following the successful completion of the discussions, the Trinco Petroleum Terminal Limited, which comes under the purview of the state-owned Trincomalee oil tank farm, will be used for the benefit of the country's economy. Minister Udaya Gammanpilla expressed confidence that these activities would be completed within the next month.
Meanwhile, former provincial councillor Nalin Hevage spoke about handing over the oil tanks in Trincomalee to India.
Now
they are attempting to get the oil from India and sell the oil tanks in return. They are planning on handing over the islands of the Mannar Basin to India for energy project. The incumbent rulers are handing over the authority of crucial strategic entry points of the country to China, India and America. It has reached the point where the country that was saved by sacrificing lives is being sold to India, China and America with just one signature made blindly. The end of this journey will be a tragedy.
The National Transport Commission says that the decision on increasing bus fares will be announced today.
The bus fares are evaluated on section basis. The longest section in Sri Lanka is from Tangol to Jaffna. There are 320 sections in between those cities. The report is being prepared by considering all these sections. We have evaluated the fares by considering many factors. Especially, we have taken details from many parties. The increase in prices of spare parts, tyres and battery, as well as service cost. The dollar rate has also been considered. We have evaluated the bus fares by considering all the parties.
Drifting your attention to an ongoing problem in the country now. Long queues were seen since 4 in the morning to purchase gas cylinders. Now, although certain individuals stayed in queue for more than 4 hours, they had to return home empty-handed.
The people who stayed in queues for many hours in the Balumahar area purchased gas cylinders with greater difficulties. Our correspondent noted that gas cylinders were available for purchasing at one main distribution in the Kurunegala district. A lorry carrying gas cylinders arrived at the location. However, stocks were insufficient to meet the demand.
Look at what a disaster this has become. There is not enough stocks of gas cylinders. I came here yesterday and today as well. Look at how we are suffering.
The residents in the Mathura town were inconvenienced today as well due to the unavailability of gas cylinders to meet the demand.
The prices of vegetables are expected to be further increased with no proper harvest.
The livelihood of farmers in Kandagol Batulla is vegetable cultivation. Guava, beans and tomato are cultivated by these farmers. The farmers who cultivated with enormous expectation during this season are helpless due to the lack of fertilizer. Usually this is a time where they reap the harvest. However, this time it is not at an acceptable level.
This cabbage plant is 3.5 months old. Without fertilizer, the cabbage is not growing adequately. We started the cultivation after pawning the jewellery of family members. We have already spent 250,000 to 300,000 rupees. We can't get a harvest since there is no fertilizer. These people have been farming for generations. They don't have jobs. If this is the situation, the government must find employment opportunities for them.
The farmers are requesting the authorities to provide them with compensation.
Who should be held responsible for the current situation in the country? Venerable Omalpe Sobithathera directed this question to the government during a media briefing today.
විශේෂයෙන්ම වර්තමානයෙහි පැන නැගී තිබෙන මේ අතිශය කනගාටුදායක දරිද්‍රතාව.
The people are suffering at present due to poverty and insecurity in the country. Ironically, President points fingers towards the officials. The futuristic projects that he initiates are not being implemented by the officials, and the officials are the ones who destroys these initiatives. The question is, who appointed those officials? Officials and the cabinet was appointed by the president. As a result, he cannot point fingers at those officials. If the officials are making mistakes, the person who appointed them should be answerable. Not only answerable, he also should take action against them. I directly asked the president if you punish the 3 officials who committed those wrongdoings.
රිජුලේචම අහනවා ජනාධිපතිතුමාගෙන් ඔය වැරදි කරපු නිලධාරීන් කී දෙනෙකුට ඔබ දඩුවම් කළාද?
5 people have died in accidents reported from several areas. The accidents were reported in Giribava, Bulat Sinhala, Gampaha, Dambulla and Akkarepattu.
1 person died in an accident that occurred in Bokundara this morning. Police noted a woman driving a luxury jeep has run over a pedestrian after falling asleep on the wheel. The victim was identified as a 52-year-old resident of Boralas Gamuwa. Police further noted the 52-year-old woman was arrested.
The human-elephant conflict is far from over. Not only the humans are paying the price, but also these majestic creatures. The main reason for this is the failure to implement a sustainable program to prevent accidents from occurring.
The wildlife officials in Sikiriya discovered the remains of an elephant in the Arunodegam area in Vavala, Dambulla. The wildlife officials noted the elephant had died in a paddy land a few days ago. The Giritale Veterinary Office conducted the post-mortem examination. Another elephant had died after being electrocuted in Serunuara in Kantale. Area residents noted the elephants had come in contact with an electric fence constructed around the Serunuara area. The area residents further noted they are severely impacted due to the encroaching wild elephants to their village.
The University Grants Commission has said that permission has been granted to accommodate 50% student capacity for lectures with effect from today.
හෙට උදෑසන සිට 150ක ශිෂ්‍යයින් සෑම විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයකට ගෙනීමට නොහැකි වෙන්න පුළුවන් විශේෂයෙන්ම අධ්‍යයන නිමාඩු.
We might not be able to bring 50% of students to classes in every university. There might be groups that are on study leave. Some groups are sitting for exams online. Students are passing the vacation period. Some students are in the final phases of their final lectures. Therefore, the vice chancellors of universities can summon 50% of students based on their requirement. Since universities rely on hostels, 100% of students cannot be summoned. We are not hoping to depend on this mechanism for too long. We are expecting to call all students to universities and resume the academic activities as soon as possible.
විශ්වවිද්‍යාලවල යථා තත්ත්වයට පත් කිරීමට තමයි මූලිකවම බලාපොරොත්තුව තියෙන්නේ.
In more headline-making stories, State Minister Professor Channa Jayasumana noted the Asian Development Bank has agreed to reimburse a sum of $85 million spent by Sri Lanka for Sinopharm vaccines to combat COVID-19. Meanwhile, a consignment of Pfizer vaccines arrived in the country early this morning.
The consignment of 800,000 doses of Pfizer vaccines arrived in the island today. Our correspondent noted the consignment was moved to the Central Vaccine Storage Centre.
Meanwhile, the Government Medical Officers Association said a reduction in people obtaining the booster vaccine has been observed due to the circulation of false information.
Different factions are afraid of taking the booster vaccine and are also not allowing their children to take the COVID-19 vaccine. As a result, there is a reduction in people taking the booster vaccine. There is no shortage of vaccines. We know how this program is conducted by the health authorities. We observe that unnecessary fear has been created by certain individuals attached to certain organizations, focusing on areas that are scientifically proven about the vaccine. As a result, we see a reduction in people taking up the vaccine. It is an unfortunate situation.
ජනතාව එන්නත් කරණයට යොමු වීමේ යම්කිසි අඩුවක් අපිට දකින්න තියෙනවා. ඒ ඉතාමත් අවාසනාවන්ත තත්ත්වයක්.
Meanwhile, 22 COVID-19 deaths were reported yesterday. 12 of them were male, while 10 were female. The total death toll has risen to 14,923. Meanwhile, 479 COVID-19 cases were detected in the country yesterday, taking the total cases in the country to 584,586. In more local news, moving on to some positive news, Sri Lankan Nalisha Banu was crowned Queen of World Tourism 2021 at the Mr. and Miss Teen Tourism International Pageant yesterday.
The Mr. and Miss Teen Tourism International Pageant was held virtually in Philippines this year, competing with 30 countries, 22...
FB එකෙන් News First ප්‍රවෘත්ති live බලන්න. අදම News First FB page එකට ගිහින් like කරන්න. ඉන්න තැනකදී live news බලන්න. දැනුවත් වෙන්න. ඇත්ත දැනගන්න. එය ඔබේ ITI.
These are not just policy tests. These are moral and real-life tests. And there are tests that humanity can pass if we commit to making 2022 a year of recovery for everyone. Recovery from the pandemic with a bold plan to vaccinate every person everywhere. Recovery for our economies with wealthier countries supporting the developing world with financing, investment and debt relief. Recovery from mistrust and division with a new emphasis on science, facts and reason. Moments of great difficulty are also moments of great opportunity to come together in solidarity.
Official data released by India's Union Health Ministry showed that there were over 9,000 COVID infections in the last 24 hours. The national Omicron tally is also nearing 800, while the COVID deaths tally also passed the 300 mark. In the national capital Delhi, buses and metro services are running at 50% capacity after the restrictions under the partial lockdown came into force. France has reported Europe's highest ever number of new daily COVID cases as countries across the continent struggle to contain the Omicron variant. However, France, with its 179,807 cases yesterday, was not alone in breaking records as Italy, Greece, Portugal and England all reported record highs too. Foreign media reported that the figures could be due in part to reporting delays over Christmas. The World Health Organization has warned that a surge in cases across Europe will push health systems towards the brink of collapse. China's Xi'an has further tightened lockdown measures and rolled out a fifth round of mass testing as it reported the highest daily count of local symptomatic COVID infections in a Chinese city since March last year. Authorities responded by enacting sweeping measures with an intensity and on a scale rarely seen since Wuhan as the Chinese government sticks rigidly to its zero COVID strategy before the Beijing Winter Olympics in February. Australia's COVID infections also surged to a fresh record today due to the rapid spread of the Omicron variant, overwhelming testing facilities in the country's most populous state.
Tens of thousands of turkeys are being destroyed in Israel as it tries to contain a serious avian flu outbreak.
More than 5,000 migratory cranes have already died at the Hula Nature Reserve, which Environment Minister Tamar Zandberg called the worst blow to wildlife in Israel's history. Local farmers were also being forced to cull 500,000 chickens, prompting fears of a possible egg shortage. So far, no transmission of the AH5N1 virus to humans has been reported. However, Prime Minister Naftali Bennett met his national security advisor and other experts on Monday to discuss efforts to stop that from happening. People who have been in close contact with infected birds are being given preventive treatment.
In sports news, a goal in each half enabled Seahawks to pull off a close 2-1 win over Red Star in the inter-club soccer encounter played for the inaugural Super League Championship at the Sugatadasa Stadium.
Seahawks, who came into the game with a must-win situation to remain in contention for the championship, were fortunate enough to keep their hopes alive with a goal scored in dying stages of the game after being tied at 1-1 at the breather. After some anxious moments in extra time, Danushka Madhushankar sealed the game for the winners with a spectacular goal, after which referee Dylan Pereira blew the full-time whistle.
Goal! The score! Is it? Yes, it is! Seahawks getting a goal right at the dying moments of the game.
With this win, they occupy the top position in the points table with 16 points collected from 7 matches with 5 wins.
Then on
And that's a wrap of lunchtime news here on TV1. Thank you for joining us. You can always visit our website, that is www.newsfirst.lk, for all these stories and much more. For the News First team, I'm Naveksha Gunasekara, along with our producer Martin Sathinesan. Have yourself a great day ahead.